just waiting for all platforms to kick in. Hopefully, everyone is having an awesome week, and thanks again for tuning in for another Tuesday night chats with Birchie. So, as everyone is coming online tonight, I want to talk about something really exciting, really important. I don't know if I'm going to have. I think I'm going to try and keep this to 1 hour. I always say that. I'm going to try and keep it to 1 hour this evening. And today I want to delve deep into what's actually happening out there in the marketplace. This is a very, very exciting time that we're all blessed to be living in. Maybe not for those of you that are in Melbourne, but yeah, I guess seeing it firsthand, the controls to be, which are out there. So very, very exciting times, and I want to get straight into this evening's topic. So today I want to talk about negative interest rates, inflation, hyperinflation, cashless societies, and where are we heading? Where is it all heading? This is the exciting period. I said let's keep an eye out for around September. It's 2 weeks to September. We're halfway through August. Who would have known? Who would have thought that it's gone that fast? So as we head over the course of the next 2 months, 2 months, 3 months, what do I expect to see? What are some of the challenges that are out there in the marketplace? What is happening with our currency? And where will we see negative interest rates? Will we see negative interest rates? And tonight I have lots of pieces of paper with some charts on them. For those of you that haven't seen it beforehand, some of you may have tuned into bits and pieces where I've shown some of these things before in the past. I want to recalibrate to where the markets are fully at, looking at it from a macro level, and also looking at what the news is putting out there globally. Going back 5 years ago, I used to have the media come out to me, and they always wanted to talk to me about, tell me where you can buy some properties. Like the other day, I saw there was some kid that's 8 years old, they're spruiking to push the property market out there. They always made it sound hard how to buy a property and all these sorts of things, or promote buying property. When I started talking about sort of interesting, fun things about how the economy worked, they didn't want to hear about it. But there's signs that are out there in the market. You don't have to go and watch the news to see it, but I want to run through all of that. So now that I can see a lot of you guys are on board, I'm going to get straight into it. So I've got 2 questions from last week, one from Instagram from my personal page. Those of you that aren't following me on my personal Instagram page, go check it out. It's just I think Nathan Birch with an underscore at the end of it. And someone had messaged me through on Facebook, I believe. So I'm going to answer those questions a little bit later on this evening, but I want to get straight into the news. So this first article I'm going to read is from CNBC, Communist News Broadcasting Centre, maybe. I don't know what it stands for, but CNBC reads, as the pandemic persists, New Zealand considers negative interest rates. Last Tuesday, I had a lot of you guys tuning in, telling me how New Zealand had gone into lockdown again. It's very convenient. It was only a day beforehand that they'd said 100 days, no new cases in New Zealand. Then surprise, surprise, it's all over again, and something's gone wrong, and we've got this sickness and one person sick, so we've got to go to lockdown or whatever the case may be. Within 48 hours, a few things had occurred. One, the election had been postponed and cancelled for the time being. 2, news started coming out like this from New Zealand. So it goes on to read, key points in interest rate decision this week, the central bank maintained its official cash rate of 0.25, but also raised the possibility of going into negative territory. Everyone said to me beforehand, negative interest rates like 3 years ago, people were saying it was a property spruik, then they said it was a doomsayer, and now people don't think that sounds so crazy. But throughout this period of time, we had the RBA boss come in and say we're never going to see interest rates go down, which they did, and then now he's saying it's never going negative, which all the countries around the world are. The point that I said about the news beforehand, and property prices, and when the news and the media like to have me out there pumping up the property market. What I found interesting is that the front page of all the news outlets in Australia going back 5 years ago said that property prices in Sydney unaffordable, property prices in Melbourne unaffordable. These were common headings that you saw in the newspapers out there. What also occurred at the same time is that there was front page newspapers all around the world. Kenya house prices unaffordable, the Philippines house prices unaffordable, US house prices unaffordable, UK house prices unaffordable, New Zealand house prices unaffordable. Why in the fuck did I was just thinking about it. I shouldn't swear because Google, the Facebook and Instagram algorithms will try and block me. So if you can share this and share your mates around, that'd be awesome. But why in the hell did every single country around the world have the same front page news articles at that period of time? The reason why house prices are unaffordable, why did that occur? The fact is that you had cheap money, you had easy access to credit, and then all of a sudden the brakes got put on. They couldn't increase interest rates. If they increased interest rates at the period of time in around 2015, 2016, when property prices were going crazy, they would have not just killed the property market, they would have killed every other single market, because we work on a debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme with all of our currencies around the world are pegged to a debt-based currency. So they can just print as much of it as they want and then just lend that money out there. Looking at all these countries around the world, what happened is that we started to see all the countries' property prices fall. What happened is that the monetary policy went from quantitative easing, which occurred after the GFC, to a quantitative tightening period, which they were taking liquidity out of the system. APRA came in, made it harder for lenders, harder for people to borrow. They never increased interest rates, right? Because they had to keep them low. I got asked this evening, when will interest rates rise, right? Interest rate rises aren't going to happen anytime soon. When interest rates rise, they could go up 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, or even like in Turkey, where it hit 60% interest rates to starve off a hyperinflation. So interest rates will play a key role, but we have got a long way to fall. We've got to kill our currencies, and that's a separate topic for this evening. We're going to kill our currencies before we start seeing interest rates on the rise again. So we had every country around the world saying that house prices aren't affordable. Seen every country around the world saying house prices are falling. Now we've seen all the central banks drop the interest rates at the same period of time. Now we're starting to see banks come out saying that they are going negative and talking about negative. So this is a New Zealand RBNZ. New Zealand, which has gone virus-free for more than 100 days through a resurgence of coronavirus cases at its largest city, Auckland. That prompted the authorities to lock down the city again on Wednesday. Speaking to CNBC's Squawk Box on Friday, the RBNZ Governor, Adrian Orr, said the option of negative interest rates would not be used on its own, but rather as a part of a package of measures to tackle the health crisis, right? If they came out, imagine you see all these people out there doing riots, right? They're rioting about anything, right? Like, we live in a world which is fascist, communist, totalitarian society at this point in time. Imagine if they come out and said, look, every business is going to get free money. Imagine all the socialists out there. They'd be like, oh, how dare you give money away for free to all these businesses? How dare you do this? How dare you do that? The thing is that now that we can call it a virus or a scamdemic, is why I call it that. And I had one of our viewers point out that it's not a scam and people are getting sick. I'm not saying it's not a sickness. I'm not saying people aren't getting sick out there. I'm saying that they're mopping the floor using tactics like this to control and manipulate the minds of people to pass, very crucial documentation because we had a failing economy before this all came to rise. And I'm going to run through with a lot of charts, a lot of details, and walk you through a timeline of what has gone on and why I called the GFD back in August and November 2018, and show you once and for all how that actually occurred in October the 10th, 2018. But yeah, like here we are, poor New Zealand. We've got a couple of people that are sick now. We've got to drop interest rates negative. We've got to put everyone in a lockdown. We've got to fuck up business even more. These are the things that are coming to play. Goes on to read, New Zealand is considering the negative interest rates as it grapples with the severe economic impact caused by the coronavirus pandemic, aka scamdemic. In its interest rate decision this week, the central bank maintained its official cash rate at 0.25%, but also raised the possibility of going into negative territory. Several global economic disruption caused the severe global economic destruction caused by the pandemic is persisting. Any significant change in the global and domestic economic outlooks remains dependent on the containment of the virus, which is highly certain, as evidenced today by the return to social restrictions in New Zealand, it said in a statement on Wednesday. I can read all this out. I don't really want to read it because I hate reading this mainstream media stuff. Reality of it is that this is propaganda, right? People laugh and they say, "Oh, look at these people in North Korea. Let's look at Kim Jong Un, little Kim. He's out there brainwashing people, etc." People are begging to be brainwashed, right? This is a propaganda outlets of the central banks, of the governments, and large corporations and controlling parties out there. They're using this to control the hearts and minds of people and to beg for things that they normally revolt against. Here's another article here from interest.co.nz. RBNZ says its package of additional monetary instruments, including possibility of negative cash rate, must remain in active preparation. They're preparing for it. Last year we were talking about this actively on this channel, right? We were sitting here talking about how negative interest rates were going to come into play in and around the next 12 months, and this was in September last year, and everyone was like, what happened in September? And we'll get onto that a little bit later. Just goes on to say the Reserve Bank has begun to put its foot in the accelerator with its quantitative easing program, increasing it to $100 billion from $60 billion, although it has increased the duration of the program by another 12 months. So quantitative easing is going on for another 12 months in New Zealand, folks. However, it is also indicated is likely to front load the purchases of assets as the market for bonds is now bigger, and central bank purchases will be able to absorb bigger share now of the bonds without affecting the market functioning. The RBNZ has sought and received the approval of Finance Minister Grant Robertson to be able to buy up to 60% of the outstanding bonds. They're buying everybody's debt. 2 years ago, I talked about the fact that the RBA, right, the Reserve Bank of Australia, will end up coming in to buy up all the debts. They'll buy up all the balance sheets. They'll come out and buy the books of the banks. They'll end up owning everything, all the shit, all the toxic swamp and the time bomb stuff out there in the marketplace. So here we are, the RBA NZ ministers has sought and received approval from the finance minister to buy up 60% of the outstanding bonds. Previously, the indemnity from losses on bond purchases provided by the minister covered purchases only up to 50% of the outstanding bonds. Additionally, the RBNZ appears to be opening the door even wider for the prospect of negative official cash rate. Capital Economics Australia and New Zealand economist Ben Udy said the RBNZ had sent its clearest message there. Negative interest rates are coming. We still expect the bank to wait until next year before bringing in the OCR into negative territory, though the risk now is that the bank moves sooner rather than later. So let's be very clear on where this is heading. I'm going to read some very specific comments later on, so just bear with me and I'll show you how this all ties together. It does come hours after confirmation of the community transmission of that word with the number has returned to New Zealand. So surprise, surprise, no one got sick, and then suddenly one person, 2 people, 3 people got sick, and now we've got to go to negative interest rates. We've got to turn on those money printers, printing out more money and killing your currency. Now we're going to go to negative interest rates, right? The only way through this is by printing more money, by creating more quantitative easing, by getting that capital out in the system and papering over this. This will devalue the cost of your money that you have. It will mean that the money that you got in your bank becomes worthless. It means that your debts become worthless. It means the asset prices rise. It means the cost of goods rise. It means the cost of survival in the world goes up. And makes a lot of people's lives really, really bad. So it's not great for everybody, but it's going to be great for a lot of people that are planning ahead. Reading on, goes on a lot more. You can read this article. I posted all these in Birchfeed. If you're not in Birchfeed, go to birchfeed.com, birchfeed.com. Go to birchfeed.com, subscribe. It's free. No need for you to be a tight ass. Go out there. It's free. Join up to it today. Looking at the next article, this here is from some other commie magazine. RBA Governor Philip low, not ruling out negative rates. So suddenly we have now got the front page of the RBA coming out saying negative interest rates are on the way. Surprise, surprise, guys. You telling me it's starting to scam yet? Have you not identified this, right? I've been in the media for 10 years, right? My job was in the media before I quit my job, right? When I worked in the job, I worked in the media. I've seen this stuff. I've seen these journalists. I've seen what they put out there. I've seen the propaganda outlet. It is being completely controlled. It is communist world we live in. This one goes on to read, the Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowy is not ruling out a policy of negative interest rates, but says it is extraordinarily unlikely in a world that is so uncertain and fluid. Oh, poor thing, right? We've got a united front. We've got a united enemy. Have you not read or seen how you can win a war and divide and conquer? Anyone heard about divide and conquer? When you have a common enemy, everyone gets together and they focus on that one thing, right? And you've got to watch out for the left hook. Here we are, the uncertain and fluid, the world that is uncertain and fluid. The cash rate has been at a record low of 0.25% since March in the face of the biggest economic contraction for decades. It is expected to stay that way for several years. So if you think the interest rates are going to go up anytime soon, right? As always, I'm not your financial advisor, but I don't give a fuck about a disclaimer, right? If you think interest rates are going to go up anytime soon, I encourage you to question yourself, how can they go up? They need to bring them down lower to pay off all this debt, all this money that they're printing. We're in a debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme here, folks. Interest rates are going to negative. However, he said negative interest rates do impair the profitability and efficiency of the financial system. While this is also hampering the ability to provide credit, negative interest rates has also encouraged people to save more, not spend more. Someone putting $100 in the bank may only get 95 back in 5 years' time under a negative interest rate policy. So that's very interesting, right? He is saying as his example that if someone was to put $100 in the bank, that they may only get 95 back in 5 years. Am I looking into it too far, right? But is that a negative 1% interest rate for a period of 5 years? Put $100 in, you get 95 bucks back. That's encouraging people to spend their currency, their worthless dollars through this system. And everyone that's tuning in, just be careful, right? Don't jump out of this. I see sometimes there's people jump in and jump out of these videos. This could be one of the most amazing and important videos that you watch of 2020 to protect your family and grow your wealth, right? Because this is a sleight of hands here. This is a point in time which is of biblical proportions that we're seeing, right? This is an awesome time in 2020. Negative interest rates, right? They're saying it here in the article here, right? It goes on and reads, in some European countries and Japan, there is evidence that this has resulted in people wanting to save more. So negative interest rates can become contradictory. I don't think the cost of benefit justifies negative interest rates. He took issue with the committee deputy chair and Labor MP Andrew Lee, suggesting he was putting bank profits before jobs. What I want to see is credit supply work properly, because we need banks that are profitable and willing to supply credit, and that credit supply markets are not distorted. So, interesting article there. Here we go. Next article. This one here is just a funny weekly wrap up. This one here is from one of these outlets. It's a Northern Star newspaper. I don't know why I've got people spamming me in Telegram, signing me up to crap. But anyway, goes on to read, Aussie grocery prices set to soar. There is some more bad news for Aussie households feeling the pinch. Here's your hyperinflation, folks. Here's your hyperinflation. You want to see what's going to happen with our currencies? This is the death of our currencies, right? It goes on to read, according to several experts, our supermarket shop could soon be a lot more pricey as a result of border closures caused by the lethal coronavirus pandemic. State border shutdowns have affected agriculture supply chains, while the freeze on international travel also means the industry is facing critical backpacker shortage. There is 20% or whatever it is unemployment out there. Aussies don't have jobs. Why do we need backpackers to pick fruit, right? I'm sure, given the bad time that we've got here, why aren't there people out there to be going to work, right? I know there's lots of people that want jobs. Why don't you go and get jobs working in a farm or doing whatever the case may be? The thing is that here we are. It's a good excuse to say that food prices are rising. State health officials need to engage specifically with regional communities and industries at the decision of the premiers to identify workable solutions that keep supply chains open. Keeping all of our agricultural supply chains secure is absolutely critical to ensuring supermarket prices for fresh products remain affordable for Australians while maintaining some of the best animal welfare standards in the world. Meanwhile, National Farmers Federation Fiona Simpson told Sunrise this morning that drastic reduction of backpacker workforce would likely make fruit and vegetables more expensive. She said while the sector had been able to continue operating during the pandemic, border closures, blah, blah, that is the problem. We do depend on operators the whole country. One of the craziest things about this country is we talk non-stop in the news about unemployment figures, how the people are out of work and how many people are looking for work, yet have a shortage in the bush. How do we get these people jobs? Question, because normally we had about 200,000 backpackers in Australia, now we're down to about 80,000 because of this scam. We really want Australians to help, it's more important than ever, blah, blah. How come we've got grocery prices rising, guys? How come we've got grocery prices rising? So, on that note, I've got a few little other notes here. I want to show you my charts, which are very, very crucial. Keep your questions coming through, guys. I'll get to them later. I will try to. If not, I will reply to them separate. Maybe I'll make some videos separately in regards to that. But I really want to dig deep into charts and look and show you how screwed up our economy is. So if we want to think about what the central banks are going to do, if you want to think about what is to come, if you want to think about negative interest rates, if you want to think about quantitative easing, you want to think about more stimulus checks that are going to come out in the marketplace, the central banks, the government has shown their hand, right? They have shown their hand. If you were playing poker with these guys, you would win, right? Because they've got the worst poker face. They've already shown their hand and how screwed up they actually are, right? They've said they won't stop at anything to keep the economy going, right? If they made interest rates negative, a question that I get often is, would the interest rates, if they made it negative, would interest rates at the bank be negative? Yes, there's many cases of this around the world at the moment where banks have gone into negative territory. How can they still make a profit? If the RBA, let's say that the RBA, my target rate, I'll put it on the record, I keep putting it on the record, is -2 to -3% at the RBA. That's my personal viewpoint of where we need to go to get out of this cycle of where we're at the moment. So if the bank got $1 million from the RBA, hypothetically, or the RBNZ, or whatever reserve bank around in your country, around the world that you're based in, if they give $1 million away and it's negative 3%, that means every year the central bank would pay you $3,000 to take that loan out, right? Who is paying bonds, right? These are the bond yield curves, these are the bond rates, and these are charts over historical times. I don't want to run through that just to show you a very clear pattern, right? Because it's not just me making this shit up, guys. I research a lot of stuff, and this isn't stuff that you can just make up, right? You need to go looking through the data, need to analyze where these things are coming from. But if we've got a world where the banks are getting paid to take on this debt, if they're getting paid $3,000 being 3% negative to take out $1 million, and then they lend you $1 million and they pay you 0.5% to take it, the bank is still making $2,500. You've got to remember, it's not you paying the bank the profit, they're still making their spread. The central bank is paying the bank the profit, right? And this is the end of our currency, right? And I've got clear evidence and clear proof that this is something that's happening global out there. So let's go through these. These are bond yields. So this is from investing.com. I'm going to start off with these three first charts. So this is the same chart. It's just worked out. This one here is the whole lifespan of the 3-month chart. This is 2020. This is a 1-year chart. So for those of you that are looking at it, you can see here that in February this year, the chart fell off a cliff. It went from 1.18% or 118 basis points all the way down to 0.95%. So about 9 basis points. So about 10% of a percent is a 3-month yield. So if you invest your money for a year, for 3 months now in buying treasury bonds from the US, that 3-month investment that you put your money in for, you'll get an average of less than 0.10% per annum. Inflation's not keeping up with that. Why would you invest your money, right? And that's exactly what the central banks are doing. In that article, it goes on to read that the New Zealand Central Bank has bought up 60% of the bond yields, right? The bond yields are rigged. The bond market is rigged. The system is rigged, right? It's the central banks keeping this alive, right? It's like a dying person and you go and visit them and they're on life support machine. It's not the same person. It might look like the person, but it's a machine keeping alive. That is what the central banks are doing to our economy. So this is a 12-month chart for the 3-month bond yield. This is a US bond yield here. I'm going to zoom out of this a little bit and take it back to the 5-year chart for the same thing. So this is if you invested your money over a period of 3 months in the 3-month bond market over the course of the last 5 years. You would see that the yields were rising from here in 2015 as the market started to shit itself. So remember, globally, I talked about beforehand, we saw on all the news outlets out there around the world, house prices unaffordable in Australia, house prices unaffordable in New Zealand, house prices unaffordable in the US, in the UK, in the Philippines, in fucking Kenya, the front page news articles, house prices unaffordable, right? And here we are in every country, we're seeing the monetary policy change, right? And when I said that we're going to see between August to November 2018, the economy shit itself and we're going to go into the GFD, here we are. We go all the way up. We're tightening. The 3-month bonds are paying 2.23%. So if you invested your money, you'd at least get inflation rate back. And then in October the 10th, 2018, which was actually the day that Birchfeed just coincidentally, like no joke, could have made this shit up. Birchfeed launched to the public on the 10th of October 2018. It was my nephew's wedding that day, or the day after, sorry. And I was sitting there as I launched Birchfeed, and I remember I was getting subscribers and people coming on board and whatnot. The market fell off a cliff. The bond yield started coming back. So we can see that there's a mountain here. It's building up, and then bang, right? Then we started to see him print a little bit more money, and then bang, right? And then printing more money. And then we came here to the start of 2020, and bam, straight off the cliff, right? This is just the 3-month bond yield. So just understand that there shows you exactly the day the GFD occurred, right? The global financial depression. This has been building up for decades, guys. This here is the max chart. This is off investing.com. This is a 3-month US bond yield here. As we zoom out, we can see that there's a pattern forming. I know that some of the glare here is a bit difficult to see. I'm going to get my phone case here, turn it over so you can't see my my credit card details. But basically, if we were to draw a line through that chart, you can see that ain't straight, right? And it might look on the reverse camera that you're seeing this from that it's going up, but it's actually down. So as we can see here, in 1990, the 3-month bond paid 7%. Then they had the recession we had to have in 1992. This is the US bonds, guys. This isn't the Australian market, right? Growing up, I was taught, liberal guys are good and Labor is for dull bludgers and all these sorts of things. No, right? Paul Keating didn't fuck up the economy back in the 90s, right? The recession we had to have, maybe he was telling the truth. I don't know. I'm not supporting the guy, right? But if we have a look here, the 3-month bond yield, bam, crashed. Then it started to recover. Then we had the dot-com bubble, bam, went down. Then we went back up. Then we had the GFC, bam, it had to go back down. Then we were dead. It was flat. As I said beforehand, the last time you see something like this is on a heart rate monitor when someone's fucking in palliative care. That's our economy, That is the global economy there, guys. But then, as we started seeing APRA and all these things come in, bam, it was getting tight, and then bam, fell off a cliff. That's zooming out. That's just a 3-month chart. I overlaid these charts back in 2018. I said we'll look for a death cross of the yield curve. Death cross of the yield curve would occur when we saw the 3-month become greater than the 10-year bond. So if we have a look here, the 10-year bond is basically where the banks take their loans from. So if we look at the GFC, I'll draw this out a little bit further as we go to the longer end of the yields here. Here we are in the US 10-year. It's paying out 0.7%. This is where the banks are. This is where the banks are taking their mortgage rates from generally. So in the GFC, the reason why I knew the wheels were going to fall off the cart around 2008 is when the Australian banks had to finance their debt. They had to go to the US banks. The Fed printed bonds. If you look at NAB, I believe NAB took out $2 billion from memory. I'd have to go and correct me on those numbers. Go do your research, guys. $2 billion worth of bonds got taken out at this rate. As we saw as we will see in a chart in a moment, those bonds started to rise over a decade, and in 2018 it got to a peak, and that's when everyone's debt was rolling over in every country, right? That's why we started to see currencies devalue and countries get themselves into debt. It was dying, right? It was imploding. It was checkmate for the system. But anyway, we've got here the 1-year chart on the 10-year Treasury note. So if you invest your money for 10 years, you will get less than 1% return. Who the fuck would invest their money, right? Who would invest their money to get a 0.7% return? No one. No one would invest their money to get that return. And that's why the central banks have to buy up this junk to keep this market alive. This should be -2, -3%. They should be paying you to borrow your fucking money. Right? They should be paying you because your money is losing its value. So that's the 1-year chart. If you have a look at the 1-week chart, it's starting to rise again. We're going to be brewing up into something as we enter into September. I know we will, and I will show you what has occurred over the course of the last 2 years. So I just want to drag us back to the 5-year chart, to the 10-year. So we looked at the 5-year chart of the 3-month chart. So basically, if you invest your money for 10 years, in 2000 and in the peak here in 2018, if you invested your money for 10 years, you'd get a really good return of 3%, right? You'd get 3%. If you invest your money for 10 years now, you don't even get 1%. But if you notice here in September 2018, October 2018, my dates, I put it all on Be Decentralized, folks. If you're watching this from different channels, I put this out there. I don't post much on there anymore because I've just been too busy to post all that stuff. I put all my stuff in the Birch feed. Go to birchfeed.com if you want to see it. But with it, in October 2018, that's when this yield curve imploded. Why? Because it was written on the fucking wall. And this is on the wall now that we're going to negative rates. So looking at the history since 1970, right? Our currency, we all got royally fucked in 1971. And I say royally with tongue in cheek, right? Because in 1971, that's when our currency changed, right? This is the US 10-year bond. Coincidentally, the market peaked in 1980s. 10 years on from when the currency got completely devalued and went to a debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme. The currency has been dying ever since, right? The currency is dying. So interest rates back in 1980 were 14% here at the US Fed. In 1995, they were 7%. You would invest your money at a bank and get 7%. It was a decent return. Now you invest your money in the bank, you have to pay to leave your money as a storage fee, right? We are in a different economy. We are going to head to a very, very different. If you were to continue this chart, tell me, if you were to continue this chart, where would it head? It would head off the sheet into negative territory, right? It would go to negative territory. And that is where we are at in 2020. Straight off the cliff, right? I can't even make this shit up, right? But no one looks at this. You can go watch your mates on TV. They'll all tell you what's happening out there. You know, by their advertisers, by their supporters, by those companies that pay their wages and, you know, all that sort of stuff, right? And if you think that that bald guy that sits on your news when the sun comes up and the sun rises in the morning is the only one of them, go and look at every country, right? You'll go and see CNBC, you'll go and see Jim Cramer yelling off his head like I am at the moment, talking about some commie stuff, supporting his mates on Wall Street, right? Supporting the system that's out there. And it is a very, very sick system. If we go and look at our favourite ones, which are here in Australia, I've just shown you what the US is doing. We're just here in Australia. We've got the 1 year bond. I've found that the 1 year bond is very closely correlated with what we see happening in the rates here in Australia. So we can see here very clearly. Well, actually, I'll go back a step and we can go for a trip down memory lane. I've got lots of copies of this here. I don't know why I've got doubles up. I should have looked at this a little bit closer before I came on here. 1 year and max. Okay, I'm just going to show you the 1 year and the max here because it's all that I really need to show you because it speaks for itself. But if we look at what had occurred late last year, the market got fixed and pegged as central banks were buying up the I've got a mind blank, guys. I've got a mind blank. The banks were buying up the repo market. Too many things I'm looking at once, right? The central banks were buying up the repo market in September, fixed the economy, right? They fixed the currency. They were testing in 2018, in September 2018. You see this here clearly going down, right? If we pull the chart of a 5 year, I don't have a 5 year chart here, but if you saw the 5 year, it would have went straight down, but then it propped back up, bounced along at the top, and suddenly we can just blame it on some poor Chinese guy eating a bat allegedly, right? We're not talking about those 2 buildings that fell. We're not talking about any conspiracy theories here. We're just talking about the fact we can just blame it on some guy, cause a worldwide virus, which they'd already created videos about, propaganda outlets, and put it on Netflix where everyone's getting brainwashed on it anyway. And then we can just go, oh, well, it was that because of that. We fell into this category, and now we have to restart the system. I will talk about restarting the system very, very shortly. We have a look at our yield curve here for the 1 year over the course of the last sort of 30 years. The 30-year debt cycle that we've got. It's not by surprise we haven't had a recession for 30 years. It's because it's been manipulated. We can't have a recession. We just print more money. But the day has come, fucking judgment day for the central banks, for the controlling powers, where this is starting to implode. And we will see the loss of our currency very, very shortly. So if we have a look here, we can clearly see that the 90s, we had our recession that we had to have, just like every other country did. We saw that we had a big run up in the 90s by all the stimulus packages that we had created in the early 90s. And then we came to the dot-com bubble. We had the dot-com bubble. We soared straight through that. The Sydney, it's very cool to note that if we overlap here with the Sydney property market from this point in 2003, you can't really see it that well, but interest rates just went all the way up. That's when the market crashed in Sydney in 2004. When we had the GFC, we saw interest rates drop from 7.25% all the way down to 3% within a period of 5 months. And then it started to increase a bit, and then we had to drop it down, and stay stable. And then suddenly we fell off a cliff. But if you remember, this interest rate cycle and the monetary cycle that we're seeing at the moment didn't occur in February this year. It started on the 4th of June 2019, right? Got to pick them up later. But that's when it started. It didn't start this year, right? As we look at all the bond yields around the world. We've got the central banks buying up the balance sheets. They're buying up these debt bubbles, and they are pushing this bubble. Are we going to see the economy collapse? Right? We're not going to see the economy collapse. Right? They've shown their hand. They're just going to print their way through it. Everyone's going to feel richer. Right? You're going to go, oh, I've got $1,000 in my pocket still. Right? But that $1,000 ain't going to buy you shit. You'd be lucky to buy the paddle pop by the end of this for $1,000, right? How many countries have you seen? I don't travel, I don't go overseas, so nothing's really different to me at the moment. But how many countries do people go and see around the world and they go, oh, we'll just cross a zero off the currency, right? You go to some country, some third world country, they've run their currency into the ground, and their currency sitting there with a $100,000 for a bag of chips, right? Here we are, right? That's our currency, that's our dollar, right? What can you do to protect yourself through this period of time? What can you do to protect yourself through a hyperinflation sort of position? For some reason, my Instagram just paused due to connectivity. There's some very, very interesting things to see. But doesn't stop me from coming back to my other phone and talking to you about some fun things that we're seeing out there. If you're not being brainwashed by this shit, let's look at some stats. Here is some articles here from the news, right? This is straight off Channel 7 News. No problems to my mates over there. Branch closures. So out of this coronavirus scamdemic that we've got, we have now got to close the banks. We have got 68 ANZ banks closing. 68 ANZ banks, right? 44 Commonwealth banks closing. We have got 36 Westpac banks closing and 27 NAB banks closing. Why would they be closing the banks for? Why? Because we don't need them anymore, right? They're just going to print money and it's going, it's not even going to do that, right? You're going to be stuck on some social credit score type system. A lot of conspiracy theories out there, right? But I'm going to show you for fact that that is coming in. For fact that that is coming in, right? Here we go, looking at the Channel 7 article again. It goes on to read in the article, ATMs and branch closures. Banks move away from cash, right? Open banking started to occur in the world going back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? When APRA conveniently put in all these measures, right? This didn't just occur in Australia. Who remembers their Vita file, their credit file? Let's go to Vita. How come there's Equifax at the moment? How come everyone relies on your credit score? What about when you watch a YouTube video that some person puts out in the US and they're talking about your credit score? How about when RP Data changed from RP Data to CoreLogic? How come CoreLogic's all around the world, right? Who owns these companies? It's the central banks. They are controlling and manipulating everything in the financial system, sending it digital, right? Sending it digital. This is hammer time. It's crunch time, guys. Looking at, the dates. Well, I want to go back as well. Probably shouldn't have thrown all this over the table. I want to go back to the US 10-year. Oh, here we go. Perfect. This is the one I was looking for. Right? Crucial dates. August to October 2018. Right? How did I pick that so great? Some people asked, was Nathan a time traveler? No, he just fucking looks at charts. He's a bit dorky than what people think he is. People think Nathan should be out, drive around in Bentleys and on boats and with bitches, well, like my video recently. But no, he watches charts and Bitcoin and bullion more like it, and building ponds. I saw someone ask me if I fed my yabbies. I've got to go feed the yabbies today, and the ones in the dam don't need to be fed. So with it, so looking at the chart. So if we see the markets crashed in in October 2018, around that September, October time. If we notice that in 2019, the markets started to crash around September 2019. If we saw that the bonds were being purchased up via the central banks, you would see a pattern occurring every year around September, October, November. Shit is going down, right? Shit is going down. And here we are in 2020, October, September. Everything is on track for where we are right at this period of time. So what can you do to sort of protect yourself, right? You might be questioning that. I'll answer that shortly. But, there's different ways that you can. It's not all about property. I called my company B.Invested. I called it that because I'm an investment firm. I'm an investor and I invest in all different things, right? Investments doesn't just look like property. Just like money doesn't look like pictures of pieces of plastic with dead criminals printed on them. It looks like all different things, right? And I like to invest in all different things. Nowadays I'm investing in animals as, so I can and eat them, right? Sorry to the vegans that are lost on here, right? With it, I find that assets are the fruit and vegetables that I grow in my own yard, right? The fish that I grow in my own pond, not the koi fish that I put on Instagram the other day, guys. But not going to eat them. But yeah, looking at other sorts of assets, right? I've been slowly accumulating metals over the course of the last 20 years, right? I've purchased lots and lots of precious metals over a 20-year period, worked out different strategies for them. I was buying Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, EOS, Litecoin, all different sorts of cryptocurrencies back when everyone said Nathan had fucking rocks in his head, right? And look at what's happening to crypto now. Did I stop buying crypto when the market fell? No, I kept buying. Did I buy crypto when everything's high? No, I didn't, right? I bought it before it went up, right? Am I buying assets? Am I buying properties? Yes, I am. Have I bought properties in 2020? Yes, I am. Am I paying off debt? No, I'm not, right? The reason why I'm not paying off debt is that I'm going to pay it off with hyperinflated dollars that are worthless in the end, when I can take $10 and it looks like $100, or I could take this phone case and sell this phone case that I bought for $50 or $100, about $80. Phone cases aren't cheap, guys. Look at the cost of these things. But when I can sell this phone case for $20,000, right, and I can pay off what someone would have bought a car for in the past, that's when you start seeing the real relevance of what you can take through a hyperinflation scenario. And we are well on track for a hyperinflation. I made a video, I think it was one of my most well-received videos ever that I've done on hyperinflation in and around March this year. So maybe go to YouTube if you haven't seen that. And I know it's placed well on YouTube. So just youtube.com/Binvested, and in there look up the hyperinflation video from around March this year. But yeah, very, very exciting times. Got some other little notes here and some other articles to share with you. Loan standards, right? When loan standards contract, we have a property bust. When we see loan standards expand and become more liquidity going through the system, we will see just seeing people messaging through. So thanks for sending over the private messages, guys. If you have questions or want to get in touch with my team, feel free to send us a message, send us a private message, send us an email, admin@binvested.com.au. If you want to book in a strategy session with myself, there is a waiting period of time. Book in a strategy session with my team. If you want to get your finances looked at, reach out to my team, email us, admin@binvested.com.au. Give us a call, 1300-367-925. We're here to help you build your position. But in short, when loan standards tighten, which we've seen over the last 3 years, that's when we see the market bust. When loan standards relax, that's when we start seeing a boom. When interest rates go to negative, something to be very, very careful. The reason why I've been so bullish on everybody getting their loans in order, getting their debt strategy in order is very, very crucial. Is simply due to the fact that when you go to 0% interest rates, none of us have ever seen 0 or -% interest rates at the bank, right? If the bank goes to 0, that means everybody can afford a property. Anyone can get a loan, right? If it's 0% interest rates, right? Why they're holding off from giving you negative interest rates is because they need to build the systems, the infrastructure. They're not 100% ready for this right this moment. But we're very close. Right? We're very close, and I believe we'll see them by year's end. I could be wrong. You could laugh at me, right? But that is where I feel that we're on track for right at this moment in time. When they make interest rates 0%, when we see them go negative, what buffers would they have in place to stop everybody just from taking free money? I believe that the bank's lending standards will get tighter and tighter, and it'll be harder and harder for people to get access to credit as we progress through this period of time. So yeah, I'm just seeing some notes here, some comments here. Keep them coming, guys. If you were to see interest rates go down by half, which we have over the course of the last year, there's interest rates out there now. This morning I saw 3-year fixed interest rates 1.99%, right? 1.99% for 3-year fixed interest rates, right? How great's that, right? What's that indicating to me, right? It means that the banks are now taking bets on the fact that central banks have got to pull their pants down and drop their interest rates. So they've shown their hands. Yeah, just really, really interesting. Just having a look here at some little notes. I send myself like little notes all throughout the week and articles to myself to this phone, so I can, just things that will spark back my thoughts from the week that I've had. If we have a look at like gold and silver the last week, I want to get onto the media on something else. Just manipulations. Everybody loves this little old man, right? He's such a lovely, dear old soul. Most people would think that. I've got to ask this beforehand. Do I think Warren Buffett's a good guy? Do I think that he's him and Bill Gates? I actually got asked this 3 years ago, and I said, if you like, making children in other countries, mutilating them and giving them tablets and stuff that'll make them sick, then all for it, right? Have you ever noticed that every time you see Warren Buffett, the little old guy from Ohio, he holds a bottle of Coke like this and he sips it. Yeah, that was nice Coca-Cola, right? He's product placing his shit, right? His stocks, whatever he's got, right? If you have Coca-Cola, you'll be old and healthy like me, right? You could be successful like me. Anyway, this guy goes on to say that gold and silver is bad. You shouldn't be buying it. All these sorts of things. He's one of the most evil motherfuckers in the world, right? If you think some of the gangsters that you could see out there, we all know people that got tattoos on their faces and stuff like that. They look tough and scary and the gangster and whatever. If you want to see a real fucking OG, that's this guy, right? He's pulling shit that you've never seen beforehand. When you go and watch your Google videos, he's never owned FANG stocks, right? FANG stocks took off 2 years ago, right? And now every time you watch a financial video, probably 1 video, 2 videos in, it goes to CNBC, and suddenly you're watching this old bastard on your phone and your device brainwashing you, right? Buy stocks, buy shares, buy this, right? It is propaganda and it is manipulated to its max. But yeah, basically in the last week, it came out on Friday, some reports that this old bastard has sold out of some of the banks, and he's now buying gold, right? If you heard some of his previous interviews, he would say he would never buy it. Gold is a pet rock and has no value. Just as he said Bitcoin is bad, just as he said buying tech stocks are bad, and suddenly he goes and buys tech stocks, right? So basically, if you hear him say that not to do something, you want to go and do what he's telling you not to do, right? Everybody looks up to this guy. I can't stand him. Every time I watch him, I think I'm so disgusted. People tell me, oh, this guy is the greatest guy in the world. He's the best investor. Is he the best investor, or is he a master manipulator, right? So you got to be questioning everything that you're starting to read. Don't question anything I have to say. Don't believe anything I say to you guys. So yeah, with it, it's just interesting to see, what hands are being moved here at the moment. The banking sector is in for a big shake-up. An article here, just backing on from the one from Channel 7 News about the coronavirus forces a record number of ATMs and banks to close, just on news.com. Australia was already becoming a cashless society, but the coronavirus scamdemic has apparently sped up that trend. According to new figures from Australia Payments Network, the banks have been forced to, where does it say here? To shut down branches and remove ATMs, as the word that I shall not say with the number at the end of it, escalates. The organization estimates that 2,151 ATMs were removed across the country between April and June. Fucking 2,151 ATMs removed, right? Imagine how many, armor guards aren't going to take cash anymore. Like, that's some big news, right? Like 2,151 ATMs, right? Just think about it, right? A shopping center might have like 10 or so in it, or 5, a big Westfields, right? How many streets, how many would be in a suburb? How many ATMs? Maybe 50, right? That's massive, right? As we're heading into, we're being forced to go to negative interest rates and to a cashless society. I'm seeing lots of people commenting here. I'm reading just some of your comments. When will the ASX crash, and what would be your top picks to buy when it does? I'm going to get onto that. That was one of the questions that I got asked. There was 2 questions that I mentioned that I'm going to answer tonight, so I may not get to all your questions here. But yeah, I've got the questions in here. That's one of them. Meanwhile, new research from PayPal Australia has revealed significant shift towards e-commerce, a move away from cash, with 23% of Australian business and 21% of them now completely cashless, right? Really, really, really sort of interesting times that we live in, right? As I said beforehand, when you look at someone with a head like this, right? This guy here, right? Looks like a lizard, right? Because he is. And look at the things that are being pumped through the media. Whenever you read an article, just think about it, right? Like, here's the most important thing to realize: the news is fake, right? What you're being fed in the media is bullshit, right? Is whenever you see these same corporations that are coming up as an authoritative figure, they are all there, placed there by Media Watch, right? And they're there, placed there conveniently, right? Why is it the same place? It's reiterating a sort of agenda, right? There's certain TV production companies that have certain agendas behind them. There's certain people that are placed in certain shows. If you look at like who the producers are of certain TV shows across a network, all of them have got the same sort of lineup of the you've got instead of, if you go back in the 60s, I'm sure it was like 3 white guys sitting behind a news desk, right? And now there's a girl there. There might be 2 girls on there. There might be a dark-skinned person. There may be a girl. There may be someone that's gay. There may be someone that's all different nationalities, right? But if you notice, there's certain agendas that are being pushed in certain networks, right? Who owns these companies? The question is, when you look at these people that are so wealthy, what is the agenda that's being pushed, right? Imagine owning a network, a news network, and then being said, well, how about you do this agenda and we will buy you a new yacht, right? You see retail outlets and they get benefits for buying certain stock, pushing certain stock, whatever the case may be. Imagine what these bigger companies are doing. Imagine these deals that these people are doing, right? So there's the next time someone sits there and goes, oh, that nice little old man from Omaha that eats McDonald's and drinks Coca-Cola all day, that's what you need to be successful. Right? Just think about the agenda that's being sold. It's crazy. So yeah, with it, I can see that Instagram is going to end very shortly, so I'm going to end it now and come back on, and I'll come back straight away. So stay put, guys, on Instagram. Share the story. There, live, go live. So exciting times, and I want to get very clear on the next part, right? As I said earlier on in this video, if you're watching it, watch it all through. It may be one of the funnest things that you get to watch in the period of 2020 as we go through this scamdemic. Looking at this is the crucial part. This is the hook that shows a smoking gun to show you that we are now getting completely and utterly screwed here. There is an article here. I've gone to congress.gov, right? Congress.gov. For those of you that want to read through the Banking for All Act, right? This was posted into Birchfeed today. If you want to watch any of this stuff, join Birchfeed. Go to it. It's birchfeed.com, birchfeed.com. It's not bitch feed, it's birch feed. So make sure you subscribe to the right place. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, right? So as we go through, this is on the Congress website. It's called, it was released on, when was this released? This was released on the 23rd of the 3rd, right? The 23rd of the 3rd, 2020, right? This is before anything went down. Think about it, right? This is just as things have gone down. How could they create a whole new cashless payment system just within a week, right? How could they, right? These things take years to be put into action. These take a lot of testing, right? So this here, I actually got this from Lynette Zhang from ITM Trading in the US, which goes in to read, in the Senate of the United States, March 23rd, 2020, Mr. Brown introduced the following bill, which was read twice and referred to the Committee on the Banking, Housing and Urban Affairs, a bill to require member banks to maintain pass-through digital dollar wallets for certain purposes and other purposes. Let's reread that again. A bill which was passed on the 23rd of March 2020 was to require member banks to maintain pass-through digital dollar wallets for certain persons for other purposes. What is a member banks, right? Is that a Federal Reserve Bank, right? The banks are turning to shit. Why is Warren Buffett selling his banks for, right? Warren Buffett, does he know that the bank's days are coming to an end? Does it mean that the currencies are coming to an end, right? I just got asked beforehand, should you be buying gold and silver and precious metals, right? I'm not here to give you guys any advice, any feedback, any financial advice. I'm just here to talk some crazy stuff and share with you my findings, my research, and the things that I'm looking at to make educated decisions on myself. I'm not out there going out there and buying and stocking up and selling shit and buying precious metals. I've been carefully accumulating different asset classes over the last 20 years, right? As a diversified portfolio, as an investor, that's what I do. Property is one of those things, which is great. I love it because debt becomes irrelevant with inflation. We've got the upside for capital growth, and we've got the cash flow, which gets inflated away as well. However, I do invest in all other assets. I do not own any paper assets. So if you're asking my question, am I buying shares at the moment? No. Will I expect to see shares collapse like I said that they would beforehand? I still believe that we will. We may not see that occur as I thought. However, we will see massive inflation in all markets, right? If you think your shares, you think you're some great share trader at the moment, you've just bought shares and, the central banks are buying them up to put a floor in the marketplace so we don't have chaos, and it's an opportunity for people to sort of get through. But how many insolvent companies are out there in the marketplace? So I'm not out there going to buy. The opportunity was many, many years ago to be slowly doing this. Is a way to get through this? Is there a way to, navigate and see through to the other side? Yes, there is. It's not too late. But is it something you should go out there and buy Bitcoin now? Bitcoin is now trading at over 17,000 Aussie dollars. Bitcoin was trading at $3,000 going back 12 months ago, not even, right? And here we are with 17,000 Bitcoin. $17,000 Bitcoin, right? Just think about that. 17 fucking grand, where it's gone up like fivefold in a year, right? But we're in the biggest economic crisis ever. What's your shares worth out there, right? What's the ASX 200 trading at? What's the Dow? What is it trading at, right? Has it done anything amazing? No, right? They're just stopping it from utterly collapsing, right? And that's the market we're in at the moment. But let's go read this act from congress.gov, right? This is from the US Congress website itself. Goes on to read definitions. In this act, digital dollars. The term digital dollars means digital balance consisting of digital ledger entries recorded as liabilities in the accounts of any Federal Reserve Bank. Right? Digital currency sitting there in a digital wallet. A digital wallet is the term digital dollar wallet means a digital wallet or account maintained by a Federal Reserve Bank on behalf of any person for the purpose of holding digital dollar balances. There was a thing I called told you all beforehand about. It's called the IMS. It's called IMF, the International Monetary Fund. We saw companies and people do bad things and go bankrupt in the GFC. Now we're seeing currencies and countries go bankrupt. We're going to see the IMF come in and be the savior and the bailout people of the last resort. They're going to come in and buy up the balance sheets of all the Federal Reserve. Basically, we're going to see the banks get bailed out by the central banks. We're going to see central banks get bailed out by the IMF. And we're going to see a special drawing right, an SDR, to completely and utterly turn us to a one world currency, right? And those of you looking at Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, and the New World Order and all those sort of conspiracy theory things, right? You should be questioning that stuff, right? You should be questioning that stuff, because we're in a world now where we're all getting screwed, right? The money is not yours. You can't get it out of the bank anymore. If it's never going out of the bank, it's stuck in the bank. It's never yours, right? It's never yours. You're selling your time for something that's not yours. So I don't know about you, but I'm not into slavery, right? They said, things about slavery in the past, we can't talk about that because people get offended, and that's fine, right? But everybody is a free-range fucking tax slave, right? You go to a 12-year indoctrination camp to become a free-range slave, tax slave. They indoctrinate you to that. Number 3, the member bank. The term member bank means any national bank, state bank, or trust company which has become a member of one of the reserve banks created by the Federal Reserve Act 12 USC.221 through there. Number 4, pass-through digital dollar wallets. The term pass-through digital dollar wallets means a digital wallet or account maintained by a member bank on behalf of any person, entitling that person to a pro-rata share of pooled reserve balance. Pooled, right? That sounds like a pool. You get a little bit of something. You get a little bit of scraps, right? Like, oh, give me some soup. What are those shows from in the Depression where everyone's like, oh, I can have some soup for me, right? Section 3, authority and mandate for member banks to maintain pass-through digital dollar wallets. Obligation of member banks. In general, member banks shall open and maintain pass-through digital wallets for all persons, including persons eligible to receive payments from the US pursuant to a federal law relating to the word with the C with the numbers at the end of it, who elect to deposit funds in pass-through digital wallets. Maintenance of assets. In general, each member bank shall establish and maintain a separate legal entity for the exclusive purpose of holding all assets and maintaining all liabilities associated with the pass-through digital wallets. This ain't fucking bedtime story, guys. I encourage you to join Birchfeed. Look for the article I posted this morning. Read it yourself, right? We are going to a cashless society. If you don't think that this shit has been planned, you've been played here, right? You've got propaganda outlets that are owned by large corporations. You've got censoring and control of what you're to think, right? This knowledge, right, isn't out there, right? You have to go digging for it. Everything's being censored. If you can draw the dots, you can see how hard you're getting played. Oh, the boogeyman came in and it's all his fault. They put in all this. Now we've got all this mess we have to sort out. Oh, it's a recession. We had to have a 92. It's all the bond buying. It's, where are we at, right? Come on, give me a break. The economy was completely fucked before this occurred. They dropped interest rates before this occurred. It was on a downward spiral big time, and this is where we're at in 2020. So go check it out, right? We've got articles here which are coming out, which goes, let's read the articles. The Fed says it is developing an experimental digital currency. Fuck off with your cookies. Wait. The Fed says it is developing a experimental digital currency. Right? Here's the article here. To become a reality, any digital equivalent of cash would need to be lengthy policy processes, and no decision has been made to start one. The federal government, Brainard says, why are you talking about it? Right? Why are you talking about it? Why are you talking about it if you haven't thought about it? Right? It's like someone going, oh, that chick over there, she looks hot. You're telling your wife, right? And then turn around and say, well, why did you think about it if you didn't, why would you say it? That's what they're saying here, right? It's just that stupid. Someone's going to slap them. Most people are getting slapped by this. The Federal Reserve on Thursday announced it's building a testing hypothetical digital currency equivalent of cash. The goal of the program is to enhance the Fed's understanding of digital currency, said the Fed Governor Lael Brainard in a speech to Conference of Innovation sponsored by the Fed's San Francisco Regional Bank. Brainard went to say the great pains to stress that central banks it is not poised to digital dollars. Separately, policy process involving thorny legal questions. Right? Why are they saying they're not going to do it? This came out on the 15th of August, right? But that Congress bill was passed on March the 23rd, 2020, like 3 months ago. Come on, guys, come on, right? Come on. So let's think about it, right? If you need to have a digital wallet for your digital commie cash, right? And everyone's going to be tagged by the mark of the beast, right? The mark of the beast is going to come from a thing in your forehead, implanted in your right hand between the two fingers, like it says in the Bible, whatever, right? Is that how it's going to be? Or is it going to be coming through your little commie safe app that everyone's being forced to download, right? You be a good little commie, you do what you're told, and we'll give you like a little ration of soup, we'll give you a little ration of food, you can buy yourself an outfit from Kmart, and you can get back into work and doing whatever. You just take a little vaccination and all that, and everything goes through, right? How are they going to roll this out? How's your digital wallet? How are you going to accept your digital wallet, right? How's it going to, that's the interesting part, because who knows, right? Who knows? They're going to say, get out of your house, right? Who would have thought that you'd see the whole of Melbourne locked in their house as prisoners of the state? Like, it's fucking disgusting, guys. Fucking disgusting. But, you know, here we are, and it's just, you know, some fun, right? Understanding it and seeing it before it happens, right? Imagine if, right, if you could see the plane, let's say that we've got Twin Towers here, right? And we see a plane come through, and we know that the plane, we sit there looking at the building because you know a plane's about to come, right? That is where we're at. This is where we've been at for the last 24 months, 36 months where we've been sharing this information with you, right? Here we are getting played, right? Right? This here is an article on Business Insider, right? Think about all these news outlets. Think about who controls them. Who are the advertisers? Who are the ones that are paying the fucking propaganda outlets? What is the agenda, right? I know single-handedly, I've been in TV over 100 times, right? Over 100 times. They probably won't want me back because they're like, this guy's lost his mind, but, you know, good luck, whatever, right? The case may be, right? But at least we've got social media. And if you could share this, if I could just put out a little favour, if you like me trying to, you know, wake everyone up and shake them around and give them entertainment at the same time, if you could share this, share it with your friends, tag them in here, because I am getting censored. I know that they're censoring it. I know that they're not going to share it because I said a few words, right? And that's fine, right? But if we can get more people aware of it, better conversations with people, you know, and also with Birchfeed, if you are liking Birchfeed and you want your friends and family to be on there, just send them the link, birchfeed.com, and get them to subscribe. It's free, right? Send them over there. I share in there all these notes, all the information. Some things a bit out there. Try not to go too out there. Try to keep them, you know, very much on track. I see Johnny put their two little planes, right? I can hear some flying over my house at the moment, funny enough. But yeah, with it, let's look at how we can see before the impact occurred. This Business Insider Australia article goes, this is from October the 10th, 2019. You can see that very clearly there. Just look up the article anyway. Cash was predicted to be dead in Australia as early as 2022, but there are plenty of reasons why it will be king for a while yet. In October 2019, this article came out. But now, right, it's because of that fucking sickness that I will not call, because it's a scam. The time you hear that word come out of my mouth, you may as well take me down for a vaccine, right? Anyway, looking at what this article has to say. Measured by the number of card transactions each year, Australia is supposed to be the sixth most cashless society on earth. The federal government is at its very moment considering outlawing transactions in the stuff over $10,000. This $10,000 cash bill ban came out in 2018. It was a part of my mentoring program. For those of you that were a part of my mentoring program, if you're on Facebook, there is a link in the description to get access on demand for that. It was me talking about this before it occurred, right? If you like the mentoring program, maybe put a comment in there. Maybe your favorite thing that you learned, or maybe the thing that you could, that you've sort of, seen occur, that you're going like, fuck, it's the plane before it hits the building scenario, because this is literally the plane before it hits the building. Johnny, he wrote here, the only news you should be watching is on Birch Feed. Thanks, mate. If you guys want to see more like out there stuff, I know I've turned off a few people over the last 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, and that's fine. I can't keep everyone happy. I'm not here to, but I like just sharing stuff, and I love seeing people get, benefiting and being able to, be on the same level and communicate at the same wavelength. So, if you would like to see more out there, maybe talk about some of the things that you'd like to see a little bit more on. Maybe I can share some other stuff out there too. But if we go back to May 2018, our treasurer at the time was Scott Morrison, Scamo, good old Scamo, the Prime Minister. He went out there and enacted the cash ban of $10,000 transactions, right? It's illegal to pay $10,000 in a transaction to a business, right? You go to jail for it, right? And this shit's been enacted at the moment. Why? Because it's forcing people to use digital currencies, right? Because our currency is completely and utterly fucked. It's been the writing on the wall for a long while now. This is the article, still remember, from October 2019. Despite that we have more cash in circulation per capita than ever before, of course, because you just fucking printed more money than ever before, the RBA has been rolling out new banknotes just for everyone's protection, right? But where is the green one? I actually called for this. Whoa, got some water there because I slapped it down so fucking hard. We have not seen a fucking new $100 bill yet, right? Because they're taking the large denomination bills that are being hoarded, and there's a way of getting currency out of circulation, right? It's quantitative tightening for the masses that like to, have cash. So, I better take the water off my phone. Need to get it off myself too. There was an RBA Governor, Philip Lowy, whose signature features on every note in the country, handed over a freshly printed lobster to a fruit vendor in exchange for a few bananas. It was impossible to tell the reaction to the rollout was just muted or if it was just a video. The task recommended, right? Let's just think about this, guys. Let's just think about it. The task recommended by the Black Economy Task Force, right? Black Economy Task Force. That is in capitals, right? Is that a special task force that they've got called the Black Economy? They're saying that people buy terrorists, prostitution, child trafficking, and drugs via using cash, right? How is this shit traded in the whole history of humankind, right? How's it gone down beforehand, right? Looking at it, it goes, those support to be claiming the bill's purpose is to crack down on the illegitimate activity from tax evasion to money laundering. Why, after all, some may ask, do we even pay with cash at all? Right? We've got some little commie group here going, oh, we need to push for this agenda, right? We're getting mask agenda pushed at us. We're getting fucking this agenda. Where have we seen the news? Tell me, where's the news sat out and gone, oh, we've got a nutritionalist in here. How about you fucking eat better? Where's your turmeric powder? How are you going to get your immune system up, right? Where was that? Right? I haven't seen it once. Can someone please send me a news article that's there to protect me, telling me how to fucking eat healthier, be healthier, fill my body with good things that it needs? No. It's got fucking ads for Maccas. Oh, we're safe at Maccas. We'll give you a fucking tap and go. Good on you, Warren Buffett. Fuck off back to your little fucking lizard community. It goes on to read, Tap and Go has been around for years. New technology and payment companies are reducing the cost on time required to move money, and online shopping is forecast to explode. Why? Because they're going to lock everyone in their fucking house in 6 months' time. This article is from 2019 in October, guys. It's in Birchfeed. I'll share it again there just when I'm finished with this, just so you can all have a look at it. Certainly, it appears that Australians are using cold hard cash less. In 2008, we used to go to the ATM 40 times per year on average, according to the RBA figures. A decade later, it was down 25 times and declining. Over roughly the same period, the number of card transactions has quintupled. Despite the predictions of us becoming cashless society by 2022, Australia is still flush with the stuff. In fact, the amount of cash in the Australian economy is near a 50-year high per capita, according to the RBA. Yes, because you could feed a fucking family for fucking threepence in 1950, like we discussed last week. Right now, you need fucking $50,000 a year worth of government stimulus just to fucking get by and put your mortgage on hold, put your fucking everything on hold. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. We're getting screwed hard. It goes here to say, for every Australian, there are currently around $30, $50 and $14, $100 banknotes on issue. Lowy explained at last year's payment summit, so there is an apparent paradox between the declining use of cash and the rising value of banknotes on issue. We are hardly the exception in that regard. A UK review found that almost one. Which UK review, right? Who is sending out these things? We're talking about what's that? I don't even like thinking about it. All those commie sort of like institutions, right? Those institutions, right? CSIRO, right? Who the fuck owns that, right? I want to know who owns these institutions, right? The whole point of Birchfeed is to question what's happening, because I can see fucking clearly, right? I don't speak with conviction apart from this stuff that I know 100% hand on the chest that we're getting fucking played. The reason why I question other things like the scamdemic that we've got in a virus and all that is because I know how shit and fucking manipulated the system is and rigged the game is on stuff that I know 100% without fucking question. What about everything else that's being fucking programmed in our head? Just question it, guys. Question it. Even in Sweden, where 2% of transactions are in cash, conceded it is its own review that getting rid of a major risk up to the most vulnerable people in society who are largely unbanked. The same concern goes for the elderly who perhaps aren't as crash hot when it comes to online banking, blah, blah. Meanwhile, low interest rates have become a feature of modern economics around the world. Oh, that's what we're talking about beforehand. Remember, this was from fucking October 2019, right? Meanwhile, low interest rates have become a feature of modern economies around the world, from Germany to Japan to the UK to the US. Rates are low or going lower. What, when they fucking magically come out in 6 months' time that we've got some fucking magical virus and blame the next bloody aeroplane with the little crash in the building, which I can't even say the word coming out because otherwise, in that date, and not just say it's a date, I'll be censored and whatnot on social media. So when the deposits are barely cents on the dollar, the financial difference between keeping cash in your wallet or in a savings account is negligible. No, it's fucking not, right? Because I can control what I want to do with that. When you put it into a cashless society, it's never my money. I can't control. I can't do whatever the fuck I want with it, right? It's totalitarian, fascist, communism. That's where the world is that we're heading to. Play a part in it if you don't. Protect yourself if you want to. There's lots of opportunities out there. It's not too late. There we are. Just remember that this article is from 2019. Take, for instance, the example of Hong Kong. Many of its citizens are currently protesting. China came out and had this disease. Right? Who remembers the videos? Right? Who got the videos? Right? Who got the videos in around February of Chinese people dead on the street? They're just walking across and you just find dead bastards all over the street, right? And there's like people in fucking hazmat masks. The hazmat masks are there fucking taking these dead bodies away. I've never seen that happen once. Where's the dead people? Show me them. Show me the fucking dead people. I want to see them, right? Where are the dead people laying on the streets like what we've seen in the videos, right? They're not there. Right? But what happened is that there were riots happening around the world. There's a thing called a yellow vest movement, right? The yellow vest movement, which, don't quote me, I'm not a part of some protest, right? I just get on with my own life and just see what's happening out there and question the aspects of it and the hand that's being played to me, right? Where are the yellow vests right now, right? Because all these dead fuckers are on the street in fucking China. Oh, Hong Kong, go inside. No one wants to die like this. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll go inside. I don't want to die of a virus. No one's fucking dying like that. They don't just walk and just drop dead like it's a fucking Stephen King film, right? But suddenly these yellow vesters that they were talking about, I forgot about the yellow vesters, right? Because I've tried programming all of us to not question this shit, right? The yellow vesters disappeared very quickly, right? So they were protesting. Of course, it's not just a civil unrest which increases demand for cash, but it's a good example of one of the essential use cases. Australia may have enjoyed the fruits of stable democratic government for more than 100 years. Well, now we're not. We're turning into some fucking communist place, and you can just go down to Melbourne to go and see what it's all about. You can go to any state capital cities around the country. You can go to another country around the world, and you'll see the same thing happening. We're heading into full-on commie state, guys. A recent technical error in Australia saw ATMs and EFTPOS machines unavailable to accept payment or distribute cash, leaving thousands around the country unable to use their money. A strong reminder that cash doesn't require electricity and internet to function. So if we think about it, right, who creates OSCO, right? Who owns it, right? Who sponsored this stuff? Who's seeing these companies and these organizations put their tentacles in, right? People not questioning this stuff. That's what it's all about. Just question this, right? Because we're getting fucking played. This article, remembering, right, for those of you that are tuning in, those of you that are leaving and whatnot, this article was from October 2019. It goes, however, Lowy, despite believing cash will become a niche payment option over time, still thinks that there are a place for the humble banknote in its modern world. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lowy. While I find it difficult to predict the future, I expect that banknotes will remain for a part of our payment system for time to come, he said. So there you have it. While we might soon all become outlaws if we dare use a 7-figure scale, and the death of the cash appears greatly exaggerated, right? These are articles from fucking 6 months ago, right? We are going fucking cashless with a negative cash rate, right? And here we are on the eve of it, right? And people might laugh at me, people might unsubscribe, people may subscribe, right? But I'm just telling you the facts of what's out there, right? I'm just trying to draw it to your attention of how we're being played and royally fucking screwed. Let's read an article from our friends over at 7. Firstly, we have to close the cookie thing, right? Because about 12 months ago, our data was getting under control, right? That's why we've got to protect that data. And whatnot. This phone here, you use the fingerprint on. The other one takes your face. The one with your face gives you ads of what you're thinking, right? Anyone ever realize that? Anyway, it goes the 22nd of the 6th, right? That was an article from a year ago, 22nd of the 6th, 2020. So a month or 2 months ago. Coronavirus scamdemic could see Australia shift towards a cashless economy. Oh, it's the corona. It's the corona that made me have to go to cashless, right? It's the corona that killed the system, right? It's the corona that made us have to wear masks. It's the corona that made us have to sit inside. I was in Bunnings the other day, right? It was a mate. And my mate is pretty tech savvy, right? He knows about things and how they work, and especially with cameras and whatnot. And he said, look, just be careful looking up there. He goes, that's where your biometric data, or whatever it's called, is looking at you, right? Conveniently, we have had this shit being installed, right? In front of the cash registers, not anywhere else in the store, just in front of the cash registers, right? What a great way to calibrate it. Let's make people stand 1.5 meters apart whilst we calibrate all the information and the, checking your fucking face and all that sort of stuff. So when they install a cashless system, right, which is like Mark of the Beast, fucking 666 style stuff, that we're all going to be forced to use, right? How are you going to be a part of that world, right? How are you protecting yourself? This may be about finance. This may be about property. This may be about investing. It may be about whatever, right? A lot of people used to think, oh, Nathan's just here to talk about property, right? But what else do I have to do, right? Am I going to buy another property, make me happy? Is anything going to make me happy in that? No, I just find fun questioning the system that's screwing us, right? So I'm excited. I see here, people saying thanks for helping them open their market, the eyes to the rural markets and whatnot. I find great, sort of kick out of being able to, share with you what I'm seeing, what I'm researching, having people that still have their own mind connected, because we're living in a world, right? People say, are you for a vaccine? Are you not for a vaccine? I don't care, right? Personally, I'm not going to get a vaccine. I'm not going to force it on other people to get a vaccine. They want to lock me out of the system. I'm going to be very set up well to protect myself, those around me that I care about, still be able to have conversations with people that still have their own brain left, right? If people want to end up as a vegetable state, well, there's lots of morons out there that, may as well just take a whatever, right? So, yeah, I've been a bit excited tonight. So, reading this article, getting back on track, the 7 News article, which we just read, the one from October last year. Now we've got it classed as the corona did it. The bank branches and ATMs could start disappearing across the country as the coronavirus scamdemic shifts Australia further towards a cashless economy. The use of cash has more than halved, with many retailers switched to cards and phone payments, transforming the way we use money. The Reserve Bank... Oh, there we go. The Reserve Bank of Australia customer survey found... What, we're meant to believe the fucking RBA? Who are these people that are forcing me to listen to their fucking data? Who are those people giving me their data? Who are they? Right? Who are they? I want to know. Right? Who owns these institutions? Who owns these corporations that have got the right to use these media outlets? It is a propaganda outlet. Watch the news, be brainwashed, be dumb, watch Netflix, whatever, right? Or you can just question and go, how am I being screwed here? You're not born as a human, right? When you watch The Matrix has been a big theme of my business, right? I've got a book, X The Matrix, right? I didn't just come out and say, oh, we're living in the fucking Matrix, right? I've been talking about the Matrix since the day I started my business. We're brainwashed. When people realize that we're living, that the Matrix was a documentary, right? And it wasn't just a sci-fi movie, right? The whole paradigm shifts, right? Looking at these companies that are there programming us, right? You've been programmed and brainwashed, right? We aren't born to be a tax slave. We aren't born to go and have to work 7 days a week. We aren't born, right? The quality of life was different in the past. We saw, the Industrial Revolution, which was great, right? People had great lives and things happened, and, the wife got to stay home, look after the kids, you had a family, whatever, right? Here we are in 2020. People are just, desperate and, in a position which aren't in control, which is really sad, right? But no one's sharing that knowledge, right? I feel it's my, position to be able to help people. But here we are, living as tax slaves in this world. The RBA just, it's okay, you've got nothing left, you've got nothing else to have in your life, but just go to work, just pay us some more taxes. Now, we don't even need taxes, right? They just hyperinflate the shit out of our currency, and you lose the value of your hard work and your energy anyway. They're going to tax you one way or another. We don't need to use tax in 2020. We use inflation. That's what they should be saying in here. Anyway, it goes on to read, in 2016, the number dropped to 37%. In 2019, it fell to 27% of people that use cash. It is estimated that since the word with the sickness, with the number and that I will not ever say, crisis hit, the number has plummeted to less than 10% in many sectors. Less than 10% of people using cash. We've got to remove it. No one's using cash anymore. Programming, cashless society. Right? The big 4 banks have closed 170 branches during the lockdown, with indications some of those may not reopen when the scamdemic eases. If the trend continues, the nation's 280,000 ATMs could drop to 15,000. Drop to, right? ATMs. There's 280,000 ATMs in this country, and they're saying it could drop to 15,000. Why 15,000? Because they're already planned to fucking cull them all? Because we're going to a cashless society? Because I've just shared with you guys beforehand how we're actually heading to a cashless society? It's great. No one questions this. Maybe they do. I don't know. Share if you feel that you do. There's probably 500,000 Australians out there that still, with bank books, they've got no cards and that they can use, and they still need banks. It will be a generation before we see all Australians comfortable with online banking. Oh, at least we know when they're going to give us the mark of the beast chip. Let's go on to the next one. ABC, Australians being commies, news. What Australian can learn from Sweden's move to a cashless society, right? Here we are with a country with negative interest rates. As Australia flirts with the idea of a cashless society after the scamdemic, Sweden has a warning: be careful what you wish for. Let's read it. Sweden is often cited as the most cashless country in the world. It was already well on the way to digital-only payments before the scamdemic was declared, and the virus has only served to hasten the demise of cash. If you walk into the city of Stockholm nowadays, most of the stores will have signs saying that they do not accept cash anymore. And it's Nicholas Arvidsson, an associate professor at Sweden's Royal Institute of Technology. Understand, just question every time you see one of these people that. I'm just reading some of these comments. Look, with these, an associate professor at Sweden's Royal Institute of Technology. I want to know who the fuck is the Royal Institute of Technology? Who funds it? Right? Who funds it? Why do they get the right? Why don't you have someone that's like, look, we think that this is fucked. Have a debate about it. They don't. They just go, you trust this professor, right? They wheel out fucking, what's his name? The guy that professor, what's his name? The guy that died recently in a wheelchair. They wheel him out and he hook him to a computer. This is what's going on. Right? You could put a computer there and have fucking Truman in the background talking through him. Who knows, right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful or rude. Who are these people, right? I'm questioning who are the people. Stephen Hawkins, that's the guy's name, right? Who are these people? Who are these institutions which... Thanks for that, Stevie, right? Who are these people that they're putting in front of us? You trust, obey, and these are the people telling you how to live your life, right? So the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden, thanks a lot for fucking sharing your thoughts. But anyway, if you're one of the many Australians who now prefer to use a card over cash, this might not sound like such a bad thing. But as Mr. Arvidsson explains, there are now concerns Sweden went too hard too early with rapid switch could have unintended consequences. This is interesting. Sweden has undergone a remarkable and comparatively rapid shift away from cash as government and central bank left it to the market to decide what worked best. Banks had no interest in keeping physical currency alive as they make no profit on cash purchases and ATMs are costly to operate. In fact, Mr. Arvidsson said it was now difficult to even find an ATM outside a major city in Sweden. ATMs will become like a Telstra phone, right? The telecom booth, right? We've got the telecom booth. You go in there, you do a phone. Hey, how you going? You don't need them anymore. You got this. But what about moving forward in the future? How can you get around? How can you if they want to, if you went to your bank, right? Who's been on eBay and kicked out of PayPal, right? Who's had an account closed during the IP address? They're we don't like you, whatever, right? Imagine if you don't fit into this system and they go, well, look, you've been booked too many times. Have you ever looked at like when you don't pay a council fine or whatever the case may be, a speeding ticket, they just close your license. You don't pay your OFR or OSR, whatever it is, sort of state debt, recovery debt. They just cancel your driver's license. They cancel your suspension. They suspend your reg on your vehicle. You don't pay something. They just turn off the switch. You don't exist. You can't drive on our road. You can't operate, right? Imagine when you're completely and utterly at a fucking slave and servitude to their cashless society, communist banking system, right? And we're sitting there and they go, well, you've jaywalked. You haven't done this right. You don't fit in our system. You got too close. You pinched a chick on the ass. Whatever the case may be. You've kissed in public. You've, got 3 fines in a month. You've talked on your mobile phone for too long. You didn't turn up to work at 9 o'clock in the morning. You got there at 9:05, so you're not allowed to buy food this week. Right? What sort of world are we going to be living in? Well, majority of Swedes are happy to trash the cash. Mr. Arvidsson said there had been a growing backlash to move among the hard-hit communities, particularly the elderly and disabled, who have struggled with the transition to a predominantly digital model. He said that as evidence, some people are having to forgo buying things because they couldn't access cash. Such was the problem. The Swedish government was forced to step in and pass a new regulation that came into effect in January 1, required banks to provide a minimal level of cash services. Guys, look, goes on to read, Australia could be cashless in 2 years. Australia is well on the way to a cashless society. Good. It's glad that we're here with our Agenda 2021 and Agenda 2030 position, right? It's good to hear we're on track. The Reserve Bank, oh, here we go. Once again, we've got the RIT and we've got the Reserve Bank now having a conversation. Why would these people, like, who would get up in the morning and go, oh, I'm just going to call up the ABC and have a chat with them about making the thing cashless, right? They have a fucking agenda, right? If I go on the news, I'm going to talk about how I'm a cool property investor, right? If I go on the news, I'm going to be talking about how I buy mad deals, right? I have an agenda. People have an agenda. I don't have an agenda for any of this right now. I'm just sharing it with you. If I can wake you up, at least I've got the agenda of knowing that I've got a few mates that still have their own brain. We can have a chat. When things get bad, we go, oh, I remember back in the good old days when we used to have freedom of our life, right? And, maybe be able to help people get back to the good old days on how they can be in their own personal liberty and freedom. So, this business was always about people living life on their terms, doing what they want, when they want, how they want, all that, right? My feelings are still the same, right? Whether it becomes on a financial front, I've always talked about a financial front, but this is personal, right? This is people's freedoms and ability to live life on their terms and be able to spend time with their families and not have to be, thrown away into some bloody camp or whatever the case may be because they didn't do what the communist state told them to do. Phil just said, between this and The Simpsons, I feel like I'm ready for whatever's come down the road. There's a lot more to watch out there, guys. But goes in to say, it's all the same thing, right? I've read the news here for like 2 hours to you guys now. So yeah, that is my thoughts on where we're going. I believe we'll see negative interest rates very shortly. I've shared with you lots of data on that. I've tried to make economics fun, right? I've shared with you my thoughts. I've tried to put in perspective of the world that we're living in. The media, you can't trust the media, right? Who trusts the media? Everyone goes on there, oh, but the news told me, right? Obeying without questioning, right? That is some fucking dangerous stuff out there, right? Every book, right? Every spiritual book out there talks about the day where, something that comes, right? And it's like, doesn't matter which God people believe in or anything like that, right? The books talk about the day where people obey without questioning a false prophet, right? Here we are looking through these false prophets through our TVs and our screens and what we're feeding ourselves with, right? All I think is people should question that. It's not too much to ask for, eh? Anyway, I've got 2 questions here, which I'm going to answer, and I've got a few here that I will answer as well, but I've got 2 that I wanted to touch on this evening. One is from Instagram, from Jenna. G'day Nathan, not sure if you were doing a live tonight. This is from last Tuesday, which I only saw afterwards. But can you comment on what's happening in the stock market? I'm feeling like this whole thing is rigged at the moment. I'm invested and still investing. Bad news upon bad news keeps coming out, and we are finally seeing the companies having to report on their financials, but prices aren't going down. How is this not happening? How can they report shitty financials and their share price is increasing? I know you've chatted about this in the past, but what are they doing to the markets for this keep happening? Cheers, Jenna. Look, I know a lot of people are asking that question. I've seen some similar sort of questions in random messages this evening. We've talked about it, right? They're buying up the bonds. They're buying up the balance sheet. They're buying up all the trash. They're buying up all the junk. And they are inflating these markets. They are completely manipulated markets, right? The fundamentals are completely off the table. It's a fraudulent system. We're living in the matrix, right? You can go down as deep a rabbit hole as you wish, but just from the surface, you can all see that this doesn't add up, right? If Steve Jobs died, share price falls down, right? Bad news comes out, something bad happens to the price. We have got bad news coming out. Who thought, what was a budget, right? Oh, this company's bankrupt. Oh, look, it's got an all-time high, right? How the fuck does that happen, right? Question it. That's all you need to look at. Question how this is happening. What is the levers that they're going to pull next, right? I predict that we'll see the stock market crash, right? The only way they can't do that is if they just print their way through it massively. If they print through it, you will still feel that you're rich. People are still sitting here with a $50 note from 1970. Someone with a $50 note from 1970 could have bought like fucking 2 weeks groceries, right? They could have bought a fucking Holden Commodore second hand, right? Who remembers back in the 90s, right? You could buy a shitbox clapper old car with a bit of bog hanging out or whatever for $50 or $100. We've all bought one of those shitbox cars, right? Go try and find one of them now. That $50 ain't gonna buy you a car, right? I try to buy paddock bashers for my backyard, and even the clappers out there cost more, right? So looking at what $50 used to buy you isn't what it's going to buy you in the future. If you think that your shares are going to buy you what they bought you in the past, right, you've got another thing coming, right? Paddle pops have already gone up. In the GFC, right, people had 700 grand in their super. I know personally people that had 700 grand in their super. It went down to like 350, 380,000, and they lost half their shit. They came back and they're like, wow, it recovered. It went to 700,000, went to $1 million, right? And they might feel great. But $1 million now, compared to 700 grand back in 2007, is fucking shit, right? $1 million won't buy you too much nowadays. $1 million beforehand would have been great. So as we might feel that our shares are going up, our stocks are going up, our instruments are going up, right? They're just keeping up with a bit of inflation. We've literally printed tens of trillions of dollars in 2020, right? Globally, right? The central banks are fucked. The banks are fucked. Our currencies are fucked. Our governments are fucked, right? And I don't know why I'm smiling so much, right? It's just that I was prepared for this. I'm excited to see it. Will shares continue to rise? They may well stay where they are, right? But paddle pops are $3. I shared on Birchfeed the photo. I bought one. I didn't buy one. I was like, stuff this. I'm going to get a gay time, right? So I went and bought a different ice block because I'm not paying fucking $3 for this. And on that last Tuesday's night chat, I pulled out what things were worth in the 1950s, 1960s. We shared what, inflation had occurred to things. But did you know that one of those gay time ice blocks actually inside it had jelly, it had cake, and all different stuff inside it? Now it's just like a paddle pop with some crumbs put on top, and it's like, there you go, right? The quality of things are disappearing. So the value of your capital is losing its value, right? If you come out of the other side of this and you had 10 grand in your shares and you have 10 grand in your shares afterwards, well, then you may be great to sit there and be like, cool, I can, I've still got my 10 grand, right? But what is its purchasing ability at the other side of this? So, I still believe we're going to see a crash. If we don't, it might be kicked down the road. But who would have thought would see 40% loss on the stock market and then recover after bad news after bad news? It's just not something that you would picture. Next question is, I forget who this is from. I just copied it and sent it to myself. It says, since I'm one of your avid listeners, there are a few things I'd love to hear what you think of this topic comes up. First one, negative interest rates on real life. I'm wondering if we will see negative or zero interest rates from lenders as a home loan customer. Do you think that there's additional fees or harder lending requirements? It is hard to believe we will put some deposit down and not pay a cent of interest. They have even to rename interest only. They even have to rename interest only loans. I never thought of that one before, that they have to rename interest only loans, because it's crazy. It has happened in Denmark. It has happened in other countries around the world where the banks will actually pay you to take out a mortgage. You take out $1 million loan, you get paid $5,000 a year to live in your home. Crazy world we live in. Crazy world we live in. The other topic I'm trying to understand is the impact of unemployment. Considering they literally have killed small business, I think it will only get worse. It will only get worse. How do you think credit availability and generally property market will be impacted? Good question. JobKeeper is considered an income at this point in time. Banks are taking it as an income. Who would have thought, right? JobKeeper as an income. Everyone's getting universal basic income, right? Everyone's getting Centrelink for the rich, Centrelink for everybody, right? Government handouts. They are running this fucking vehicle off a cliff, right? They are running this vehicle off the cliff. But I don't want everyone to fear, because they will just, there's lots of people out there that are booming, right? Like seriously, there's some businesses that are going to need more staff. There's businesses there that are doing really, really tremendously well at this point in time. There's some people that are doing it tough, but people will flock to different things at different times. There's X amount of currency in circulation. If there was $1 million out there for the world to go through, then there's $1 million out there still today, right? If they had $1 million out there beforehand and they printed another $1 million, now there's $2 million in the system. It is the velocity of that currency that goes around which makes it effective or ineffective, right? At the moment, as we go down closer and closer to 0% interest rate and negative interest rates, people are still spending. We're in the middle of a recession. Go to a local restaurant and see how many Uber Eats people go in. People are buying food still, right? And if you look at a recession or depression in the past, you see, those videos, the black and white videos. Oh, please give me some bread and beggars and all that sort of stuff. Right here we are in 2020 recession. And people just spending like, they're just getting stoned like it's 1999 or something like that. And that's the debt binge that we're on. And is it really going to affect us in a great capacity? Where is it going to affect us in a position where? So I'm just trying to look at some other part of the question. Where unemployment's a big issue. Unemployment ain't an issue, right? They'll just print straight over it. They will print over, manipulate all the figures, and make it all right. The only difference is that the thing that I'm very excited about, and that's why I keep smiling, right? People say, I have people come up to me nowadays and like, Nathan, you're the most happiest guy I've ever seen. It's like, mate, I'm the one with fucking 18.5 mil worth of debt that everyone laughed at, right? I'll be paying that off with worthless currency in the end, right? So, there is lots of good opportunities, right? They're going to hyperinflate the currency. They're going to kill our currency. We're going to go to a digital dollar. Will they have a digital dollar and a paper currency? I believe that we'll have two currencies for some time being, maybe 5 years, 10 years as a transition period. Everyone will be like, oh, it's an incentive. I get free credits, right? I get free credits if I join up to the digital one. It's better off having the digital one. Everybody will be getting a digital one. Notice your wallet and your credit card. Notice your credit cards on your phone. Notice how your driver's license on your phone. They're going to make this a social credit score, guys. Go and check out what's happening in China. Tell me if that's a life you want to live. That's when I say that, right, I don't mean it's like, your freedom. You have the choice of how you can actually navigate through this and be outside of that system, right? There's different instruments out there, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be cryptocurrencies, whether it be having metals, whether having your assets and your wealth outside of that digital system is what's crucially important, right? Being outside of that manipulated communist state is what's important. So I'm just seeing a message here which someone just sent to me, one of my associates, which I can't read, otherwise I'll lose my Instagram feed. But it looks pretty interesting. It's from a regulatory body coming out with a statement. But I'll post that in Birchfeed. If it's something that's worthwhile sharing, I'll be posting it in Birchfeed in an hour. So if you're not on Birchfeed, make sure that you go and subscribe, birchfeed.com. So I'm just going to go through a few questions here. If I could ask, if you could tag your mates, share it with your friends, family, share this on your page, it would be greatly appreciated. I know from the words that I say in this, I know I'm going to be shadow banned. I know that there's going to be, the algorithm's not on my side, but if you could share it and, get it out there, it's information I think could be important for you and your loved ones. A lot of people out there are waking up to the game that's being played. A lot of you are finding it difficult to go and talk to your brainwashed loved ones. You love them, but they've watched too much TV and they're too caught up in it. Trying to educate them is really important. Try and get them on the Birchfeed as well, and share the love with this. If you like my videos, all I can ask is I don't even want anything from this, right? I just spend my Tuesday nights chatting to everybody, and if you can share it around, that'd be awesome. Regan just asked, didn't Buffett buy shares in a mine's gold, didn't physical gold at all, and it was below 0.5 of his cash position? Yes, but it's the start of something he said he wouldn't normally do. So he would have had to have signed off on this, even if it was one of the other people in his business, which is very against his philosophy and his business model. So, and other ATMs still out there may be out of service. Yes, go and ask the people in Greece what happened back in 2013 or whatever it was when people couldn't get their money. There was rations on ATMs of like $200 a day. Daniel said, I think he purchased Barrick Gold Mining Company, not the physical stuff, and I think it's just under 3% of his total account. Yes. Yeah. Chu said, hey Nathan, lots of people said the property market will crash once stimulus packages stopped. What is your view on that? Should we wait till purchase crash to buy property, or should we still buy property now? The market is booming at the moment. You're going to listen to everyone telling you that the market's going to crash. I told everyone the market was going to eat shit in 2017. I was told I was an idiot. Sorry, I'm just reading a message over here from Phil. Phil said turn notifications on all your platforms not to miss anything. So if you are watching this, you want to know more updates and whatnot, flick on all your notifications, hit the bell, subscribe, and keep up to date for more of these. As for the property market, the market is booming out there at the moment. With all this free money going around, anything that's under 300 grand. Think about people pulling money out of super. They're pulling money out from everywhere. They're getting. I'm not advocating to pull money out of super. People have done so out there, and money is floating throughout the system to, in the system. So I'm seeing the market go up a lot. Remember Julie Gillard's Cash for Clunkers car scheme coming out in the GFC was sold under the guise and cleaner emissions from new cars, more like a way to stimulate car sales in the economy. The government will try anything. Funny thing is some of those old cars will be worth more than the appreciating new ones back then. Very, very cool thing. I noticed that my battery's going to die shortly, right? But if we think about cars, right, in 2008, people had like 1970 cars, Datsuns, Daihatsus, fucking shit that you don't even see nowadays. Everybody cleared out. They all went and got auto loans. They got all these stimulus packages to clear the road and boost up auto sales to get through that period. These are all different stimulus packages that were created back in the day. And they're the same sort of stimulus packages that we're seeing at the moment. Lots and lots of questions here. I have to go because my laptop is at 1%. But I will come back and answer questions later. Just as a final note, if you do like what you see here, just hit that like, subscribe, share. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, my team, admin at binvested.com.au, call us 1300 367 925. And if you haven't already, don't need to be a tight ass, ain't going to go up with hyperinflation, just go to birchfeed.com and subscribe today. It is free. So, and feel free to share Birchfeed with your loved ones. So we'll catch up soon, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.